So, Todd here with Patriot Defense again, and I was doing some thinking. I got a pretty good reaction off my last video, and so I was thinking about some other stuff that I see in my classes. So I thought maybe I'd kind of share some pointers and some other things that I've noticed. And these are just kind of little how-to things. If you've shot a long time, you probably already know this, and this is going to be no new news to you. Maybe it is. But if you're a new shooter, if you're new to firearms, and some of those things maybe you're afraid to ask, this will kind of show you how to. I'll show you how to do this. So if you do go and you shoot with other people, it'll I don't know. You look like you look like you. How am I going to put this? You'll look like you know what you're doing, but after watching this video, give you little tips and tricks, and you'll be a little bit safer at the range. So here we go. So once again, I'm using my UTM pistol, and magazine is empty. See that? Empty. My gun is unloaded. It is the UTM. I still treat it like a firearm. Obviously, keep my finger off the trigger. Always should do that. So, what we want to talk about today is how to rack the slide on a semi-automatic handgun. I see a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of people that are new to firearms, maybe they've got like weak grip, that type of thing. A lot of women tend to struggle with this a little bit. Well, first of all, I want to start by saying that on the firearm, there is what they call a button here that everyone calls the slide release button. That is not the slide release, that is the slide lock button. In the industry, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. In the industry, that is called a slide lock button. So, can you release the slide? When I'm talking about slide lock, the slide is locked back. And if you hit that with your thumb, yes, you can release the slide on some firearms. Just like that. It is usually really stiff and really hard to leverage with your thumb. Some of them not so much. But that is commonly referred to in the industry as a slide lock. It locks your slide. That is not referred to as the slide release. You can release your slide with it, but there is a better way to release the slide on your firearm. How to rack the slide on your firearm. So if your gun is sitting here just like this, and it's on, got the magazine sitting next to it, it's on the table, you're going to load it, the mag is loaded, the slide is locked back. The way to do it, insert the mag. We kind of went over that in the last video. And instead of hitting the slide lock button to release the slide, if you put your hand over the top of the slide, pull it back, and release like that, slide goes forward, chambers around, you're good to go. It's that simple. So I see a lot of people try to do this, and they hold it way out in front of them, and they're like, I can't do it, I can't rack this slide, it won't go back, I'm not strong enough. Well, I'm here to tell you that the further away you hold your firearm, the further away you hold your firearm from you, when your arm's outstretched, it's going to be a lot harder to rack. If you struggle with that, some of us can do it, some people can't. If you struggle with it, the way to do it is to bring the firearm up next to you, and you can rack the slide. Now, I do want to point this out. If you're shooting and there's other people shooting, like you're at the range, or someone standing next to you shooting on the firing line, you obviously, there's no one standing next to me, so I'm going to show you. You obviously don't want to turn the gun this way. I see a lot of people pull the firearm in, they turn the gun this way to get it close, to make it easier to rack the slide, and all of a sudden, where's that firearm pointed? It's pointing at your neighbor. It's not pointing down range, which is the way it should be pointing. So, a quick and easy way to keep it pointed down range, if you have to bring it near you to rack the slide, is this. You're pointing down range, you need to pivot around the gun. So instead of bringing the gun to you, you need to pivot around the gun, and then you can bring it to you. That way, the firearm is still pointing down range. And then to rack it easy, bring it up close to you. Now, obviously, you don't want it, right up here where, if it goes off, it's going to hit your arm, or it's going to hit your belly, or whatever. You still want to bring it like this, but you don't want to get in front of the barrel. And if you put your hand up on the barrel, or up on the slide, just like this, and you use a push-pull method. So you're using your strong hand to push, and you're using your weak hand to pull at the same time, two opposing forces. And what you want to do is you want to pull it clear back and let it go. I see a lot of people, when they rack a slide, they try to be as careful as they can with it. And they pull it back and they ease it forward and either jam the gun up or it's out of battery. Even this one will go out of battery even without a round if I go slow. And then they go up to shoot, and why isn't this shooting? Why isn't this shooting? Well, there is a recoil spring in this gun. And I know that when you go out and buy a gun, you could possibly spend $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 on this handgun. So you want to treat it very carefully. I understand that. But this gun was made to be used. And if you're using it correctly, as stated per the manufacturer, you can rack the slide. It is made to slingshot back and slingshot forward, and you are not going to damage it at all. So I tell everyone, you need to pull it back and pull it back and let it go. And the best way to do that is to over-exaggerate that. So you can pull that slide back, and I tell everyone to take your hand and pull the slide back and pull your hand off that slide and hit yourself in the shoulder or the chest and let it go forward. None of this. I see people do that, and I see people pull it back, and then I see them push it forward like they're trying to help. But there's a spring in there. Let the spring do its job. It's what it's there for. Pull it back and let it go. One more thing that I've noticed in class 2, and this is kind of a scary thing, is you want to obviously keep your finger off the trigger. I see a lot of people end up, starting to do this. Well, if your finger is on that trigger and it's not supposed to be, and you go to rack the slide, and the momentum of that slide goes forward, what can happen is you can end up pulling that trigger just like that with the momentum of that firearm. You can end up pulling that trigger, and it probably would have worked better had I taken the mag out. So let me show you that again. Your finger's on the trigger, and you release the slide, and then bam, the gun goes forward. Your momentum, your finger goes back, and you end up pulling that trigger, and the gun goes off, and you are not ready for it. Keep your finger off the trigger up here until you are ready to fire that weapon. That is where it is safe. I'm trying to think of what else I could talk about here. I think that covers... Oh, one more thing. This gun, I don't know if you can see it, got these nice serrations right here on the back of the slide. Guess what? Those are made for gripping the firearm. So, when you're racking the slide, grab back here. I see a lot of people try to grab up here and rack it from the front. First of all, you may get your fingers caught and pinched in the ejection port right here. You don't want to do that. And if you grab too far up, what's happening? My hand is over the barrel of that gun. Then you add to that, maybe you got poor trigger finger discipline, and you rack that slide, and the gun goes bang. Guess what's now in front of the gun, in front of the muzzle of the gun? Your hand. Grip it back here, okay? Grip it back here. Rack that slide like you mean it, and just let it go. Let it chamber itself. Let that recoil spring do all the work. So just another tip, just another hint. If you struggle with that, I get it. A lot of people struggle with it. A lot of people think they know how to do it, and they aren't always doing it correctly. So just wanted to throw these little how-to videos out here. Put them on Facebook, share them with your friends, whatever. Just to kind of let people know what they're doing. So if they're going to go take a class, they feel a little more comfortable, a little more at ease. They kind of have an idea what's going on and kind of the proper safety etiquette and how to just do some more basic handgun manipulation. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. And if I get a chance later on this week, I'm kind of developing a list. And I've got plenty more that I want to do. And if you have any questions, maybe you have some questions about what to do here, what to do there. Oh, how do I do this with my gun? Let me know. Let me know. I'll make a little video on it. I mean, these are really easy videos. I hope the quality is okay. It is on my iPhone. So it's not on a fancy GoPro or anything like that. I really don't want to get into that. It's just much easier to do this on my phone. So if you like the video, great. Like it, share it, comment on it. Let me know that you watched it. You guys have a good evening, and I will talk to you later on this week. Thank you.